Okay, so we're here to talk about different facilitation strategies that you're going to use between asynchronous learning environments and synchronous learning environments. So the main difference between the two is that everything that you do as an instructor, engaging your students, preparedness, all that's going to all still be the same. It's just that your tools are a little bit different and the modality is a little bit different. So you're going to alter the same techniques that you always use for the two different systems. So the first thing that you want to do as an instructor is you want to always be prepared. Whether you're talking about an asynchronous environment or a synchronous environment, you need to have all your resources, all your materials, know exactly what it is that you're walking into when you start that learning environment. So for asynchronous learning environments, you have a little bit more leeway because it's so fluid and it's ongoing. You can provide your resources as you feel it's necessary. It's a continuous thing. You have time to research things. When a learner asks a question, you can go and find the answer, find resources, find references, and get back to that student. With a synchronous environment, it's all real time. So the importance of being prepared is a little higher in this instance because you have to have everything ready ahead of time. You have a time limit and you need to have extra materials, extra things to do, extra activities for any time that might run short, and you need to have all your materials and all your resources ready and available at your hands while the learning environment is happening. Another thing that you need to do is for both learning environments, you want to try to bring in experts and expertise as much as possible and anything extra. So with an asynchronous learning environment, you have that ability by being able to offer extra websites, offer extra articles to read, offer extra podcasts and things like that to direct the learners to those places. With the synchronous environment, you've got a little bit, it's going to be time sensitive. So you can do things like bring in an expert on Skype to talk, listen to a podcast live, provide extra websites that you can all go to at the same time. So the bringing in the experts, it's all the same. It's just different tools and different modalities that you're going to use with it. The other thing that you always want to do is you always want to provide a higher learning experience through application and engagement with your students. So when you are talking about an asynchronous environment, it's a little bit, it's not real time. So you're going to be dealing with things like team projects and discussions that continue to go throughout the entire time. You're also going to talk about shared info. So your students are going to be sharing information with each other over an extended period of time. Your ongoing discussions, your team projects, all that leads to a little bit of a more fluid and time to reflect for your learners. When you're dealing with the synchronous environment, those are going to be more immediate. So for that kind of environment, whether it's the physical classroom or the online classroom, you can talk about role-playing. You can do live debates. You can do live discussions. You can do collaborative exercises that are hands-on, both in the online classroom and in the physical classroom, and live discussions that just continue to go at the pace of the learning environment. The other thing that you want to do, and it's really important as an instructor, is to set expectations and ground rules and maintain focus for your students. The difference between asynchronous and synchronous in this is that the asynchronous environment, because it is an ongoing modality, you have a lot less control over what you can do with your students as far as keeping distractions to a minimum. But as everything, you're going to want to put your policies up there, up front. You're going to let the students know right away what you expect from them, and you're going to lay your ground rules down on ethical and appropriate behavior. With the synchronous learning environment, if you're talking about a physical classroom, you have a little bit more control over the environment, so you can, tell students that they can't use their cell phones, things like that. You can provide a way to limit the distractions that are going to occur. With the synchronous online experience, this is going to take a little bit more time and effort on the instructor's part. You need to let your students know that they need to minimize pop-ups, minimize other chat discussions that are going on at the same time. Provide them with a sense that that all other distractions need to be taken out of the picture. And then you can go according to your expectations and ground rules off that. The other thing that you want to do is you want to always provide extra takeaways, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous. If you're dealing with an asynchronous environment, there's always an opportunity to give something else out there, to provide an extra resource, to make a handout according to the feedback that you're getting. There's always going to be a little bit more time for you to be able to reflect and assess feedback and then integrate it, into the classroom. With a synchronous environment, it can be a little bit harder for a physical classroom. You may want to provide the students with the PowerPoint presentation later, or print them out, provide them with extra printed out materials, provide them with extra resources. With a synchronous online experience, you may want to record the event. You may want to have it, transcribed or something like that, so that they can take away what they learned in that real-time environment and have time to be able to reflect upon it. And the other thing you want to do, which I kind of mentioned, is assessing the feedback. And this is extremely important in both modalities. So if you're talking about an asynchronous learning experience, you have time to reflect upon the feedback that's given to you. You still are going to provide the same tools, the same resources that you have with both. So there's polling, there's voting, there's quizzes, there's the actual assessments, and then there's questions just asking about feedback and how the students think that the class is going. So both of those modalities have that. When you're dealing with the asynchronous, it's one of those things where you can let it build off off the other students, and you have time to reflect to provide the feedback. With the synchronous environment, you need to do immediate feedback. So if it's a physical classroom, you want to watch for nonverbal cues. You want to make sure that your students are staying engaged. You want to continuously ask questions and assess how they're taking in the content. If it's a synchronous online experience, then you can use things like emotes or avatars. You can use the polls and the quizzes. You can have the students do a live raise your hand to see who's getting the information and who's not. And always there's the chance of doing instant messaging questions to be able to respond and provide feedback to what the learners are telling you. And as with everything, as with all learning experiences, the instructor always needs to take that feedback, turn around and integrate it back into the classroom. And that is it for facilitation.